Here on day two of the great sell-off, Tim Stenovec, sell-off, at least for the S&P 500, it is 0.1%.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, not so great if you're measuring it that way. I think that's important, though. It's a choppy session, sort of, I think, surprising to folks who saw, what happened yesterday into the close. I don't want to steal Alix's thunder, but I think the real action today, Emily, was in the bond market.
Oh, that hurts.
I'm sorry. It's just a deep tease, okay?
We'll let Alix get to the volatility and the action in the bond market. But I don't know how surprising the sell-off is, just given the seasonality in September. It is historically a weak month for stocks.
It is historically a weak month, and maybe that's creating the situation that we're in, where people expect it to be a weak month, so they sell off in anticipation of that at the start of the month, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Nonetheless, you do have headlines that aren't helping, whether it's the JOLTS report or whether it's stuff out of Washington with Joe Biden, for instance, reportedly planning to nix the Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel deal.
Well, also, and we'll get to bonds in a second, but not to forget too that if you had funds re-lever in the last few weeks of August, had they now closed out some of those positions and sort of had to sell then into the move.
All right, well, this is kind of a topsy-turvy type of day here that we saw in the market for all of the major indices. Most of them actually did open in the red, but spent a significant amount of the session in the green. The net result of it, though, is a relatively flat day. A Dow Jones Industrial Average is going to finish in the green, but only by about 26 or 30, we'll call it about 40 points here as we wait for these numbers to settle. That's only about 0.1%. The S&P 500 also down about 10 points or about 0.2%, while the NASDAQ Composite is going to finish lower by roughly 50 points or 0.3%. Your Russell 2000, there it is on the screen, 4 points down, or about 0.2%.
Taking a look at the S&P 500, not quite an even split between gainers and decliners in there. We did see 243 stocks advance today. We did see 259 stocks move lower.
Yeah, a pretty even split, too, when you look at the sector performers in the S&P 500. Utilities, consumer staples, and REITs are the best performers, so clearly a move to more defensive sectors in terms of gainers. And in terms of decliners, energy stocks down 1.4% as oil prices fall to their session lows. Materials and tech each off by at least 0.4%.
Okay, let's take a look at some of those stocks that did move higher. I want to start with Mondelez International. Actually had its best day in more than 4 years.
Oh, Oreos.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Higher by 4%.
Wow.
This is after the CFO, Luca Zaramella, said during the Barclays Global Consumer Staples Conference that the company's executives feel, quote, quite good about the back half of the year. I think you will be pleased with the numbers you're going to see in the third quarter. He said that July and August trends were good in Europe, and in the U.S., the most recent numbers on category and share performance were also good. Shares climbing by more than 4%
Did you know they make
today.
an Oreo cereal, and it's literally just little cookies like in a box?
Don't tell the kids that.
That sounds great. I was never allowed to eat any of that stuff.
Me neither.
When I was a kid.
So deprived we were.
Yeah, and guess what? I don't let my kids eat that stuff either. So what goes around comes around, I guess. I don't know.
Wow,
it's also gross.
Tough
but,
house out there.
Anyway.
No, it sounds really good. I don't know about you guys.
I'm not even going to get you started on what they serve in schools here, because apparently you can get, chocolate milk in your cereal, but it's fine. Frontier Communications is another stock that did end up moving higher today. Fiber US, FYBR, is the ticker there. This is a result of some potential M&A happening. Look at that, more than 37% to the upside, 38% to the upside if we round that up. Verizon is advanced talks to acquire rival telecom operator Frontier Communications Parent Incorporated, according to a person familiar with the negotiations. An all-cash deal between
person?
I'm never going to reveal the sources. I have no idea. Do you know who it is, Romaine?
No.
Yeah. I will say that an all-cash deal between the two companies could be announced as soon as Thursday. A representative for Frontier declined to comment. A spokesperson for Verizon didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. Bloomberg News reported this, and earlier reported by the Wall Street Journal. And then we were covering GitLab results yesterday after the bell. Shares did move higher in trading today. Shares higher by more than 21%. This after GitLab reported second quarter results that beat expectations and raised its full year forecast. Emily.
All right, well, I'm looking at the decliners. First off, United States Steel Corp, ticker X fell 17% in the regular session as its peers also declined. It was the biggest full-day retreat since April 2017 after President Joe Biden is preparing to block the Nippon Steel Corp's $14.1 billion takeover of United States Steel, according to people familiar with the matter. And Romaine, I don't know those people and I won't reveal them. Trading volume in the stock was almost 17 times the 20-day average. I'm also looking at Celsius Holdings. This is a maker of very popular energy drinks. Yeah, this stock
literally like everyone on our team drinks this. Like they're all like wired
just
up.
like
I've never had it.
Yeah.
Also, if you go into
I might
bodega,
exaggerate a little bit, but you know,
they
it's
have
close
like
to everybody.
25 different flavors. But the stock dropped as much as 11%, the most intraday since July, after management said that its distribution partner PepsiCo is reducing its orders by as much as $120 million in the third quarter versus the prior year. So that stock lower. And then finally, Dollar Tree, those shares sliding as much as 25%, reaching the lowest intraday level since March 2020. After the discount retailer lowered the full year projections for sales and profit. And we also saw a downgrade over at JP Morgan on Dollar Tree shares.
Yeah,
You
that's
don't
amazing.
drink that stuff, do you?
No.
Celsius and all that. I don't know
Are you
what's
serious?
in that stuff. Yeah.
Sugar and grossness. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
I'm told it's rocket fuel.
No, actually, I'm told it's quite good, and I'm sure it's really great. I just can't have that much sugar. That's not pure chocolate.
The back of
We
the
can have
can
this
says-
debate now.
Are we
At the end of the day,
back-
we're
oh,
back
gosh.
to the chocolate debate.
I was just starting to like you, Alex.
Yeah.
You're back to chocolate
Tough
now?
stuff, yeah. He likes the gummies. I like the chocolate. It's a whole thing.
They tell you not to drink more than 2 if you read the back of the
Not
can.
more than 2. I mean, you can
2
say
per
that
day.
about coffee also. All right, let's get to the real action, guys. Whatever Dollar Tree, taking a look at the bond market, a nice bid all across the curve, that 210 spread coming in. It flipped into disinversion territory, and now we're still short by about 1 basis point. But the buying was already there even before you got that JOLTS number. I guess the question still becomes, day 2, do you buy into the bond rally?
Yeah, absolutely. Here, you know what, guys? Apparently, earnings season actually never stops. HPE, this is Hewlett Packard Enterprises. Those earnings crossing the wire right now. Their fiscal third quarter numbers looking somewhat good. $7.71 billion in revenue in the most recent quarter. Street was looking for 7.6. APS coming in at 50 cents a share. The Street was looking for 47. Here's your guidance going forward. For the full year, the company sees adjusted EPS at $1.92 to $1.97. That's higher than its previous estimate of what it saw of about $1.85 to $1.95. The initial share price reaction is slightly to the upside.
All right, let's take a look at C3AI as well. The ticker here is pretty simple, AI. Adjusted loss for the first quarter, fiscal first quarter, was 5 cents. Analysts were looking for a loss of 13 cents, so a narrower loss than anticipated. In terms of revenue, $87.2 million, bang in line with analyst estimates. The subscription revenue missing the consensus estimate. So you are looking at a big decline in the stock right now, 13.5% loss. So that hand-wringing over all the AI names continues.
Okay, I'm watching what's going on over at Credo Tech. First quarter revenue meet estimates. First quarter adjusted earnings per share coming in at 4 cents. Estimates were for 4.1 cents. First quarter revenue coming in at 59.7 million, just beating estimates of 59.6 million. Shares, though, down about half a percentage point in the after hours.
All right, I'm taking a look at Sprinklr. So Sprinklr is a social media management software company. Now, in their last quarter, they already cut their full year forecast for revenue and subscription revenue, and now it doesn't look so great. Second quarter revenue coming in at 197.2 million. That is better than estimated, but their net income looks really weird. It comes in at 1.84. The estimate was for 5.18. Something about that can't be quite right, but the stock is still getting hit down by about 10%.
Okay, I want to go to somewhere where I think none of us have ever been, and that's the International Space Station.
Oh.
Because even though there are earnings going on down here on Earth, there are a couple of astronauts from NASA up there on the International Space Station who were expected only to be up there for about 8 days. Instead, they're going to be on the ISS for about 8 months. Think about the type of planning changes difference you would have to make if you were packing for an 8-day trip versus an 8-month trip. What are the things you'd miss?
When I first read this story, I kind of panicked, thinking, oh my gosh, the astronauts are not going to have enough food. They're not going to have enough toothpaste. They only packed for a week-long trip. But actually, NASA and the International Space Station do control for that. And they make sure that the ISS is well-stocked with food, supplies, and equipment. And also voting voting equipment.
Oh,
you can actually vote from space if you're an astronaut.
Really?
Vote for space. This is my time. I actually interviewed Sonny Williams, one of the astronauts on the space station, who's up there, for July 4th. So I didn't realize she was still up there. For some reason, I thought she was coming down, on July 6th or something. But
yeah, I wonder if was she expected to be coming. But by then, I don't know if they knew that they were going to be up there for 8 months. But
yeah. I mean,
they
she's an
sound
astronaut.
like they're still in good
I feel like
spirits.
this is what they live for, right?
Exactly.
They wanted to go to space. They're in space.
Yeah, this is what they signed up for.
About?
But how do you secure the ballot in space for voting?
The Texas legislature passed something about this, and it's all done electronically.
Are you an election truther, Alex?
No, I don't. These are legit questions. Wait, can I just say this is the best part of this detail? They have to list their current address on the application, and the address they give is International Space Station, low Earth orbit.
But,
is that amazing?
Oh my God, I
Is there
love that.
Is there an apartment number
how many
they got to put on there?
How many electoral
Penthouse.
votes? How many electoral votes does the ISS have?
I don't want to know. You guys. Oh my God.
Alex says count every space vote. That's what she says. Guys, good to see you. That is going to do it for our cross-platform coverage of the market close on Bloomberg TV, radio, YouTube, and Bloomberg Originals. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place.